the world is starved for real leaders, but leadership is first and foremost leading yourself towards becoming your ideal self, and then helping other people do the same, follow suit.
There's a surprising number of educators and teachers that are very introverted. Introverts by nature are very aware of themselves, how what they're speaking and how they're presenting is being perceived by other people.
Hey folks, welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hyper-sexualized times of ours. Today's episode, everybody, is about leadership, and not generic talking about leadership, not methods or tactics, but more the essence of what is true high noon leadership, which, I guess, spoiler alert, is Chanuguk leadership. It's learning how to be the heavenly version of yourself, and why that's fundamental as a first step in order to then stacking on leading other people or being successful and sustaining success in life in any area of your life. You first need it in your sexual integrity. Otherwise, you're a bit of a liability, right? Let's say you become very wealthy and famous, but you don't have your sexual integrity in store, aka Hollywood, everybody. Welcome, Hollywood. So if you want all the good things in life, well, you got to work on the difficult things as well. We do that here, and we've been doing it for years. And I want to explain to you with Benji, we go in deep in this episode about let's dig our heels in and figure out what is true leadership and how do you get that. Okay, so let's get into it. What's up, you little leaders?
Hey leaders of the world.
Later leaders. We want to talk to you. We want to have like a serious conversation with all of you.
Okay.
Let's just get serious with these people.
So serious. Already there, man.
Let's put on our serious socks. They would probably be red, a dark shade of red, bordering on magenta.
That's
okay.
it. Mm-hmm.
And here's what's happening, folks. We know that if you are struggling with your sexual integrity, the essence, the epic battle that is waging within you is that of can you control yourself? Can you be the leader of yourself first and foremost? Or will you be led by your body? Will you be led by your faculties, by your intentionality? Or will you be led by history, this broken history that we're a part of? And will you just be a part of that broken continuum, right? This is a really cool part. I mean, as we go to Korea, Benji, like T-minus a few days, we're talking about this thing called the Epic, right? And which is funny because I have a Google folder, like in my Gmail, that's Epic Adventure. I started back 4 or 5 years ago because anything related to do with my travels just goes in there, just like any related stuff, so that I know how to find it, right? So Epic, it's all about Epic. And the epic struggle, as described by the Divine Principle, is really like history is in you, right? And as we know, this is true in science, right? We have epigenetics, things like this. You have history within you. And you can either just continue this broken history that has only yielded wars, pain, suffering, or you could restore history and recreate history in the likeness of something better, a better vision, a better idea, right? And this is what is being offered to anybody who goes into our programs is, first of all, understanding your vision for what would be better, a better history for you and your family or future family. And then how to create a life that actually gets you to that vision, right? But it's all about leading yourself. When was the first time, Benji, that you realized that you could control your destiny? Because I feel like as kids, we're told by our parents what is possible, right? It's like, hey, follow me. Here's the rules. Here's your allowance. It's like you're really following them. And then you want to be somebody else, right? Like you see some movie or something like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But then at some point you realize, wait, I got to do something about this. And actually it all falls on my shoulders, the results of my life. Like when did you start to realize that? At what age?
Yeah, 12. 12 years old.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
An early bloomer.
Oh yeah, I thought that was late. When I
No,
said,
that seems really early. I feel
yeah,
like most kids are just babies still at 12.
well, I was thrown into, I wanted to go to GOP, right, the Korean language program in Korea.
Mm.
I desperately wanted to go. It was like the very, very clear decision for me. It wasn't like, oh, should I go? It's like I really wanted to go, and that was really jumping in the deep end, because until that, I was like in elementary school and completely under my parents' thumb, and then I was homeschooled, and just like, and then now I'm alone, and you get $5 a week as allowance, and you can go anywhere and do anything you want at any time.
$5, baby.
Like
Burn
you
it
can
in your pocket.
There's like PC bongs, and there's like you could get into all kinds of stuff, right? Like all of a sudden. So I
This is
remember
back in the 1920s, right? This is back when $5 meant something. You could buy a car.
yes. And then yeah, I remember distinctly, I had memories of taking my bike across the bridge, this long bridge in Seoul, this busy, busy bridge, and I would just bike across it like a crazy man or teen, and I would just be screaming to God. Like I didn't have faith. I would just be screaming at God, like just like anger and rage and emotions, like letting it all out. I did that every day for a while. I remember just going across the bridge. I'm sure people thought I was, of concern and wanted to call the authorities, but I remember doing that, and I think that was an indicator of me having some autonomy in my life, and I had to figure out what to do with these emotions. Really, like being thrown into a Korean school. That was when I was going to an actual Korean public school, which is really hard to do. Yeah.
So what you're saying is $5, you buy yourself a bridge and a bicycle. It was your rage bridge. Start screaming. And so, I mean, but I would say that screaming, not to psychoanalyze too much, but was also the byproduct of the fact that you didn't even, you're in some foreign country. You can't control that much, but what you can control is the volume of your voice on a bridge, right? So, learning how to cope with the life that's thrown at you, which is interesting. If you think about, because as I'm saying, like, okay, you're 12, you're in school, you don't get to choose much. You don't get to choose the topics that you're learning. Back then I heard that the teachers in Korea still smacked you around a little bit. Yep. So not much control in the classroom, I'd say. You can't even control if you breathe or not, because otherwise you might get in trouble, right? So still a lot that you can't control. I would say a lot of 22-year-olds still feel like that. A lot of 65-year-olds still feel like that. It's a feeling, right? This autonomy, there's some hard factual realities tied to that, right? There's like, okay, when you are 12, you're not allowed to drive your own car. Even if you're, one of those weird YouTubers who makes millions of dollars and can buy a car at 12, you can't drive it, not legally, right? So there are some limitations. But a lot of the limitation of feeling like a leader is actually self-imposed, right? This idea of like you and I, we have 3 kids each. No, you have 4. You have 4. 3. Jeez, you have 7. How many kids do you have, Benji? The world wants to know.
We both have 3 kids, Andrew. That's correct. Sammy has 4, just so everyone knows. Sammy's the one that has 4. He leapfrogged us.
I have a note on my hand: Sammy tall, Benji small. Got it. I forgot to read it. So we both have 3 kids. There's certain things that we can't do. Like if our goal is to be a good father, good husband, there's obviously certain things that we just can't do, right? If somebody's like, yo, Benji, let's go travel the world for a couple of years. Let's just let's go on a dancing spree around the world. We'll make a video about us TikTok dancing in different countries. You're like, as appealing as that sounds, I got kids, right? I'm committed to this thing. So there are some things that you cannot do technically, right? But think about how many people that you talk to they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You've helped people in their 70s, right? Who will say things like, I can't because I'm shy. I can't because I'm poor. I can't because of all these things, which are like, you're not leading yourself at that point. You're being led by your limitations. Your limitations are leading you. They're dictating what you feel you can and cannot do. Oh, I'm an angry person. Okay, so then that's it, I guess. You can't be a kind person because you are an angry person. That's a limitation, right? And so self-leadership, like what we're getting into is like with the High Noon track, it's first of all understanding where you're at in this whole thing. Like, okay, what is a vision? Only when you have a vision can you find out where you stand in all of this. Like you can say, I'm a great person. Okay, cool. Compared to who? Compared to what? What standard? What's the standard are we talking about? This has been a deep stain, I believe, in our faith and in many faiths, is we haven't defined what are we looking for in leadership, right? There's a lot of pastors in the Christian world, and what it means to be a leader is just like to be brave, right? But they might be a hypocrite. So are they still a good leader? Well, we have to define these things. Otherwise, we will never know. And so for us, if you want to be a true leader, it starts with a vision of what is an amazing Chanilguk level High Noon leader for yourself. And then it requires you to start getting more and more specific and getting accountability and practicing that. Right? But you have to lead yourself. I think this TikTok generation and this life coaching generation, they say like, just be a life coach, like just pick a niche and then you be a life coach in that or whatever. Just be a leader in that. And then you just like, okay, I'm going to like just advise people on health. Okay. What are your credentials? Well, I've seen a lot of health videos on TikTok. It's like, that's not a credential, right? You got to first lead yourself, have results, and then you can share with other people the results that you gained. That's true leadership, is like, I will pioneer this thing and then I will offer it to others. And so same with our movement. We have so many good natured people who want to witness to others. They want to build an ideal family or whatever, but they haven't pioneered for themselves, especially in the realm of sexual integrity, which is paramount, right? It's at the central essence of who we are as people, is our sexuality. Do you know what I'm saying, Benji?
Yeah, most of the best leaders are the ones that don't seek leadership for the sake of leadership, because that's driven by ego and a sense of being significant in the eyes of others. But the best leaders stand up when they're called upon, right? Like there's a well-known fact, I don't know the percentage, but you can look it up, about the number of teachers, like good teachers, that are actually introverted, which is surprising. There's a surprising number of educators and teachers that are very introverted. And the reason is not because they seek out being an educator, but because they're called upon, because they are very introspective. Introverts by nature are very aware of themselves and how what they're speaking and how they're presenting is being perceived by other people. And so naturally it makes them a very good leader in how to teach things, because they know how people think, essentially, right?
And what they feel, because you're
how they're thinking, how they're feeling.
You're actually thinking about those people instead of yourself.
And I mean, like let's talk about leaders. Like Andrew's the guy here who you were like I'm not going to be the High Noon leader, the director of High Noon, right? Let me talk about you for a second, Andrew. It was like actually a number of years where Sammy was like the director, and he was like, I kind of think Andrew should do it, or someone else should do it, right? And then it was always like, no, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. That's not me. And then now, like, I don't know how long you've been doing it. I think a few years now. It's kind of hard to, as you know, a team member, it's hard to imagine High Noon with you not the director. Does that make sense? Because it's just kind of part of our identity as a whole, right?
Well, don't get used to it. I'm quitting. This is the announcement. I am going to work for Pepsi Cola. I'm going to be a sales rep
for Diet Pepsi. That's what we're about.
Cherry flavored Dr. Pepsi.
Well, it's just a case of clear, you know, like High Noon needed a leader, a specific type of leader, and it's not to like, you know, toot your horn, but it's just to emphasize that High Noon was at a stage where it evolved to a point where you were the right person for the role, right? And that's just how good leaders, I think, inevitably come about, is just when the time is right, not because they're seeking it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't Anyway, I'm flustered. But about kind of sexual integrity, like I I just know that when people lack self-leadership, we've talked about this in the past. When they can't lead themselves, it's like they can't lead anything. Not for real. You can fake it. People who are watching porn or they lack sexual integrity, they can still do stuff in society, obviously, right? It's not like you just curl up and die, but it impacts the confidence that you have in yourself and your ability to be honest with the world around you. And that diminishes your ability to sincerely lead in a way. Like the kind of the metric that I think I've been subconsciously and then a little bit more and more saying it out loud for what High Noon is striving to do is to help people to become leaders of themselves to the extent that they don't want to run away from life anymore because they care about life so much. They feel like they can impact their own life. It's like when you don't have the authority, like to even control yourself, that you just run away. It's like, I can't handle this, right? This is too much for me. I need to go away. That means that you're not taking ownership. You're not taking responsibility. You're abdicating responsibility for your own life, right? And so it's such a gift to the world for you to be able to reclaim your own sexual integrity. And that is the foundation of leading other people, because the world needs leaders right now more than ever, leading by example. We don't need more words. We really don't. Yeah. We don't need more promises. We need people who are living the Chanukuk standard. Even in our movement, to be honest, I really feel like, we're changing, we're morphing, we're adapting. And I can see the need in the members' eyes for leaders who will just kind of be honest, who will help them, I feel like Damien's bringing that a lot in America, and he's kind of setting a new precedent where he's talked about some difficult stuff that other leaders were too afraid to do. There's a wave, and I really hope that High Noon could be a big part of generating these leaders. So, like, if you want to lead in your community, in the world, let's start in the world and then in your community and then in your family. It really starts with yourself. Like, this whole piece starts with me. The granular reality of that is stop running away. You can't have peace in you. This peace that starts with you, it can't be in you if you can't be okay with your own thoughts. If you don't know how to deal with difficult emotions, that's not peace. That's war. That's the opposite of peace. It's like, that's your mind fighting you and hating you and saying bad things about you. That's not peace, right? To say, I'm not good enough, that's not peace.
Yeah, I think people want leadership immediately because we want to see results immediately.
Hey, if you happen to be a single person that wants to prepare well for marriage, for the matching, for the blessing, then my friend, we actually have a program just for you. It's completely free. You can join the core program at highnoon.org. We're going to take you through the stages to figure out, what does it mean to be a marriageable person? What does it mean to be ready? How do you actually prepare for marriage and the blessing? Check it out at highnoon.org. Join us in the program called Core. All right, see you there.
Yeah.
And so it's tempting for example, like the youth leader who's struggling with sexual integrity to become a youth pastor and then become a pastor and then get blessed, while also struggling in silence because of the perceived urgency of, like, I need to change things fast. I need to serve my community fast. But and that's only if we're thinking short term, but if we're willing to think a little long term, like decades, generations from now, then the long game is, okay, let's put our ducks in order. Let's make sure that I have everything set so that I have a foundation to lead. I have things to teach, just like you were saying. I have sexual integrity. I have a blessed family that I'm proud of, that I can talk about openly. That can be an open book for people to see, And my grievance with society right now, actually almost a point of depression, honestly, is that we have so few men that we can look up to as role models.
Yeah.
that don't just lead with their words, but actually lead with their examples. There are some.
Sure.
They're actually hard to find though, because they're not the loudest. Interesting, right? Like there's a lot of really good authors and religious speakers and teachers that are out there, but we don't hear from them because they're not on Instagram or TikTok. You know what I'm saying? They're just like living the
Sure.
quiet lives. They're just, raising good families and good people and contributing to society, going to church, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I was like sincerely depressed for a few days because I was trying to figure out who are like our role models, especially for men in the world. And it was just like every single person was like, I don't want to be like them at all.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's maybe our fault because we haven't built an Instagram following for Uncle Dave, right? I think nobody
Yeah.
knows who this guy is.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he has this, he has a lot of virtues that I espouse to enhance in my life. Just things that like this knowing of who he is and to be confident in a way. I love it. So I had some issues with my computer. Don't worry, this is related. That I only resolved last night. It was like 2 days of whenever I tried to go on the internet, my Wi-Fi speed said it was really fast, and my computer was. It took one time like 5 minutes to load Gmail, just to like show me if I had emails. I was like, oh my god! So I did so many things to change it, right? And then at the very end, it looked like I had a like software on my computer that was to get rid of malware, and that was just running in the background, siphoning all the energy from all the like power. I don't know, GPUs. I don't know computer stuff. So that such that as soon as I turned it off and deleted that app, then my computer started running again, right? Really well. And I think when you were talking, that like analogy came very close to me. These youth pastors, when you have an addiction or when you have these shadows in your life, they're running in the background, siphoning your power and your belief in self, your belief in God, your belief in a better future. You don't even know it because you're looking forward and you're like, I believe, but there's a part of you that's losing power, this really important aspect of yourself. You could call it your soul, whatever, but it's being siphoned by your addiction and it's running in the background. You don't really know it's there, but it's slowly killing any potential of you reaching some higher stage. And when crisis hits, let's say you're a pastor of some, or like an external leader, and they need you, they need 100% of you, you often don't have 100% to give because you're lacking, because there's this program running in the background that's killing you little by little. And this is the annoying part of High Noon to me, is that we're addressing stuff that's not an overt emergency, but running in the background, it's like beyond an emergency. Like it's killing our society. It's, killing an entire generation of people. They're not getting married. There's so many like issues because of porn and because of our relationship with the internet.
Right.
But it's not obvious. Like if it was a virus or something like that was you could measure or whatever, and it became this pandemic, people would absolutely address it a long time ago. But since it's a silent killer, it's like people are like, I'll get to it later. There are people who are like, yeah, no, I have a porn addiction, but I want to go to this blessing and I'll be fine. It's like, yeah, okay. Like we're not here to rain on anybody's parade, but this is a massive problem that's constantly running in the background. And that idea of the software, like think about it in terms of all of humanity's potential. If we got our sexuality right, and this is what True Parents talked about, especially True Father for many years, was like, when we get our sex right and really start aligning ourselves with God, Heavenly Parent, that's when we will reach our potential. But we simply can't, because in the background, we're being siphoned. We're like, hey, we want world peace. And then also I can't, stop having affairs on my spouse. Like that doesn't work. That's war. Yeah. It's two conflicting energies.
It's a silent killer, but it's simultaneously also a very overt serial killer. It's like, it's so obvious that it's not, which is weird. It's almost like history has always had this sexual dysfunction, and it's just been there. It's just part of life. It's like it's just like air. It's just there. You don't, and then you don't notice it until it's gone, until you remove it. But it's not, I mean, like take a couple, for example, a man struggling with sexual integrity, watching porn and masturbating, very common, literally has nothing to give their wife. It's not a subtle struggle. It's a literal, you have nothing to give her physically, physiologically, if you're watching porn and masturbating. What it's doing to your brain and also your body and your heart and your emotions too. And so it's just like, another example would be that the fact that father and mother are talking about the fall of Adam and Eve as a sexual sin, that is something that to us now, like in our faith, it's so obvious. It just makes sense. But there is no major religion that talks about that.
Yeah.
Ever. There are very, very, very small sects of Christianity, Buddhism that talk about it, but they're tiny. And there's no major religion that even hints that it might be a sexual thing. But to us, it's just like obvious thing. And I kind of relate it to like the time of Jesus. The stuff he was talking about, right? Compassion, love your neighbor, kingdom of God, paradise. That stuff to us now is like, of course, don't kill your neighbor. It's like, duh. But at the time, that stuff was revolutionary. It was like eye-opening. People are like, don't kill your neighbor. Like, what? Don't steal. Like, love people as your brother and sister. That's amazing, And so I feel like this like sexual dysfunction is such a silent, but it's also at the same time the loudest struggle in humanity.
You gotta listen. You gotta listen for it. It's not shouting in our face.
Exactly.
It's this hum in the background.
Yeah.
That you have to still yourself, quiet yourself, and then you hear, whoa, like I remember doing that exercise. I was working as a camp counselor in some Jewish community center in Los Angeles. It was a cool job. I had a bunch of celebrities' kids. It was fun. But one of the other teacher people was like, let's do yoga after work sometimes and meditation. And first time doing it, this is like back 2005 or something. And there was this exercise of we were sitting in a room. She's like, okay, expand your awareness to like the room. What do you hear in the room? Like awareness is like this really kind of triggering term because it's so annoying from like that crunchy granola world, but just like being aware of what you hear. What is in this room? And like, oh my God, there's all these little noises in this room. Now let's go beyond. And it's like, okay, let's go like to within this building. And then let's go outside. And then all of a sudden you start to realize there's all of these sounds everywhere, all around you. You're just not attuned to it. Same thing within us. All these voices that you have inside of you, right? Humanity has been unaware of the fact that, like you said, since our inception as a human species, we've been siphoned all of our potential. Like anytime, imagine like you have this group of people that are so hopeful, like, and they're running in one direction and there's a giant vacuum cleaner sucking them back. And there's no way that they could ever get anywhere because there's like a black hole sucking them. And no matter how hard they try, they are running collectively. We're going to make it this time. It's impossible until that giant black hole is covered up or filled in or whatever. That's the only time we can start to advance. And the blessing is that, but I think in the beginning it was like, okay, the blessing covers all that, but actually you have to still fix many things. It's not just the ceremony of the blessing. You got to actually be a blessed person who lives a blessed life. That means a heart that's full and filling in that we all have our own personal vortex that's sucking us back, right? And for many people, it's sexual in nature, right? So no matter how much they try in life, they always end up in the same place because they don't know how to be a fulfilled person. They don't know how to be their Chanoguk selves. That's what we're scratching at. I believe that we are the most serious, like in our movement, at actually answering that in a very confronting way. Like in terms of High Noon, I believe that our movement is really starting to answer that. It's like, okay, what does it mean to live in Chanoguk? But they're talking like high level. Okay, you do this, like live the family pledge or whatever. But we don't know what happens with your dysfunction, and that's where you kind of have to go back, fix some stuff in order to run forward. And that's kind of this exercise. If you want to be a leader, you have to look at all of yourself, the good and the bad, and you have to address that bad too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but so this is the other thing, scaling out from individual, to have leaders in our community who have practiced the five virtues, who are well versed in being honest and giving themselves grace and being imperfect, but growing and having a vision for their life and having accountability. Man alive, we would be a very strong movement, right? Just the accountability thing. Let's just say accountability and honesty. How much further would we be along this journey? Like, not to get into details, but my wife is from Mongolia, and we were just going over some of the issues that occurred because people had no accountability. They took a lot of stuff. They did a lot of sinister things because they were just given kind of free reign. And with that, they had these giant vortexes behind them that were siphoning their potential, and they ended up getting sucked into it, right? We can create a vortex-free culture where there is nothing to siphon your power, where you're just endless potential. And that's hopefully what people experience when they start living the high noon life, right? We've seen this. I know you've seen this. Like, people who are chronically depressed, or they just don't believe in themselves, and who are now, after years of working on themselves, blessed.
Mm-hmm.
You know these guys, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a bunch of them that are in our community that just work on themselves, just do the work. They keep doing it for years. Because High Noon's been, 10 years? Almost 10 years been around. These concepts have been around for 10 years. And there's some people that have been in it that long, and now we're just getting blessed next month, in a few weeks, right? And that's a direct result of them just putting in the effort in themselves first and just leading themselves. And it's really beautiful. It makes me so happy, actually, to see them, going through all that depression, all the stuff, porn addiction, matching processes that don't work out again and again, and then finally landing a spouse that they're so happy with, right? And you can tell on their face that they're so grateful for the experiences that they've been through to be here, even the things that don't work out. They're like, man, I'm so glad that one relationship didn't work out, because then I wouldn't be here,
Yeah.
But it's really hard in the moment. It's so hard in the moment to realize that and have the foresight to think that, this is a dark tunnel, but eventually I'll be so grateful for this challenge. That's what a lot of our facilitators have said that have struggled with porn addiction, masturbation, is that they just are so grateful for the person they became because of their struggles. Not for the porn itself, but because of the experience they've had. They have the compassion necessary to lead other people and to help other people in their own groups, facilitating their own groups. And I think that's the most beautiful, natural progression of leadership is that we're developing in High Noon.
Absolutely. And it's a harrowing tale to behold. Like this, watching somebody who doesn't even like themselves or trust themselves, who cites that as their very specific reason why they don't want to go to the blessing, because they of course want to be loved, but they don't love themselves, and they kind of know this, that I would be a terrible spouse in this state, right? Mood swings, unreliability, all sorts of stuff. For them to then get back in this situation where they do believe themselves and love themselves and trust themselves and be like, I know my weaknesses, I know my strengths, and I'm still working on stuff, but I like this, I get this, I can do this. And then they get blessed. That's unbelievable. They were on a trajectory towards just despair, like absolute loneliness for the rest of their life. And then after, and then now they're on a track to creating oneness with a spouse. That's a very different life, right? And it's not us. We create the environment. It's you. Do you want to become a leader of yourself? Everything else that you're looking for in life comes after that, right? If you live the High Noon virtues in your sexual integrity, then you can transfer that into the workplace or into your family life, into your physical health, whatever. It's very much transferable. But if you deal with like sexual integrity first, that's probably a good place to start, because like, let's say you're really fit but you also don't have any sexual integrity, that's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
I think it's one of the hardest things, but if you work on it first, then it actually makes everything else easier.
Oh yeah.
Start one place and then take that, move it.
Yeah, I mean, sexual integrity is kind of like a catch-all for all the 5 virtues, right? You have the courage to be honest with yourself and with others, especially your spouse, your parents, and who will hopefully keep you accountable, right? And give you grace. And then you're living in integrity. If you can do that and maintain that, and if as things come up, as shadows creep up, you address them, you shed some light, you take out your Heinun flashlight, and you live in integrity again. I think sexual integrity is the greatest catch-all to living a Chanuguk life, a Heinun life. You know, it makes it simple and life more smooth and clear. And along the way, in Heinun, we're trying to help people get clear about not just sexuality, but like all aspects of your life, right? We're talking about, what is it, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, all those areas, and get clear about, there you go, get clear about how do I want to be in these areas and how do I get there and how do I keep myself in tune with that and accountable to that. It's a perfect recipe for goodness. I'm here in Japan right now.
A perfect storm.
Perfect storm. There you go.
Perfect storm.
A great perfect storm. I'm here in Japan now, and not to open a can of worms, but there's a lot on my mind in terms of just leadership and how we can be leaders, not blame. Like that's the thing about a good leader. A good leader doesn't blame. You know, a good leader takes responsibility and says, "This is my church. This is our church." People are always like, "Oh, the church." Because I worked in headquarters, right, for years. And people always talk to me and they're like, "Oh, you know, Benji, the leaders, like the leaders are like this." I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" Like, I literally am headquarters. At the time, I was like, I am BFM. That's me. You know, you're talking about the website or the structure, like you're talking to me. Like, what do you want? Like, tell me. Do I seem like a malicious person to you? Then tell me to my face, right? And so we talk about the leaders like it's some ambiguous creature, but it's like people in, you know, that individually are taking responsibility, ownership or not, that affects the group and the community. And that's the situation we're in. So when I think about Japan, I just like how can we just take responsibility and ownership of what we're doing? Some people are doing it in different ways, which is interesting. And that's fine. But I think we all have to figure out how to do that and not blame. Because that's the last thing a leader does. Absolute last thing Uncle Dave would do, right? Is like blame people. Just blame the church. Just blame the government and all this stuff. It's like, no, that's not who we are.
Yeah, it's very true. It's not an energy that's conducive to creativity or growth or solutions. Is resentment, blame, all that stuff is just kills you. That's part of that vortex. Just kind of siphons all of your potential. I had a realization, and that is, if you are a true Heinun fan and you are going to this blessing or you're in the future and you plan on having 5 children, I think I have 5 names for your children. The virtues: honesty, accountability, grace, integrity, courage. Great names. Just saying. It's like people get Joe Rogan tattoos. Yeah, that's weird. What about Heinun people? Are you going to name your kids the 5 Heinun virtues? I'm not asking you to call them Andrew. Trust me. I don't even like the name. I think it's easy and overly accessible. I'm saying honesty. Accountability. What a name. What a name. People are like, what is that? You know, Asian? What is that? That's a great name. And then you say, no, it's heavenly. It comes from
We got to make accountability cool again, man. Nobody likes that word. It's a good word.
It sounds like homework, I've got to say. Yeah. But we realize that some of these virtues, by the by, don't even have words for these, like integrity. They don't have a word for integrity in Japanese, right? It was one of the accountability.
It's integrity.
Yeah, which we were wondering, do we have to change the virtues? And like, no, we just have to popularize integrity so that they get a word for this in every language because it is so fundamentally important, right? So anyway, I think we made our point here is that, if you care to do anything in your life, you're going to be doing it as you. And the only way that you can achieve success and maintain success is if you lead yourself, if you have autonomy, if you do things with intentionality. And that is what we are here to teach with great priority. And that's what our programs are all about, is to give you enough information to test out like being the best version of yourself, giving you the forum to create a vision and then practice that with other people, right? Just like I've already used this on, so I'm not going to say skateboarding, but like, let's say those goth kids, you see them, and then if to become a goth kid, you have to like practice a little bit. Like you're not just born that way. You put on one black item of clothing at a time, and with other people who are doing it until it feels like, oh yeah, we're the goth kids, right? That's how it works. When you look at high schools, it's all people just practicing being different types of people, right? That's just silly social stuff. That's humans trying to fit in with each other in a very kind of superficial way. But High Noon, in a much deeper way, is you hanging out with other people who are trying out the identity of being their Chanuguk self, right? And that's by expressing who that is and then practicing being that person. Because maybe everybody in your life thinks that you're unreliable. Maybe you're known for being a little bit of a liar, or you tell tall tales, right? Well, then with this group in High Noon, you can practice being an honest person by saying the truth, and then that sometimes is ugly. Sometimes saying, I completely messed up on this. And then guess what? You're changing your identity. And that is a true leader. Because again, in our society, a lot of times we're like, oh, a leader is somebody who has all the answers. So you just say a bunch of answers, even though, you don't have them, and that just gets you in trouble, and nobody can follow that. So we are the place. And I believe we're working on many more layers of teaching you how to be a leader. Andy Pak, who's in charge of our programs, is now building out Ascend Level 2 for people who are still struggling with their sexual integrity, and then Ascend Level 3, who are people who have more mastery, who want to then lead other people. So I guess that's a good way of looking at it. Ascend Level 2 is for people learning to lead themselves, and then Ascend Level 3 is for people who are learning to lead other people as well. So our facilitators and this kind of thing. So stick around and keep on. We want to give people years worth of stuff to work on so that we are a hub for people becoming massively healthy leaders.
Yeah. I hope that our members can come to us if they want help becoming great leaders. People want to be good leaders. There are a lot of people that want to be good leaders. But maybe we can provide the guidance in how to do that.
Yeah, I would say, though, that there's a bunch of people who want to be good leaders without changing. And that's the antithesis of leadership. Because you want other people to change. I'll tell them what to do so they can change and get better. You have to do it too. So,
which is why we have levels.
Yeah.
Levels.
We've been working on this a long time, and I think we're getting somewhere really good. So everybody stick around, please. If you've listened to this far, I will sign your face, whether you like it or not. I'll just come up to you and sign your face. Not with my signature, but I'll just sign it. Sign language. I'll just sign language your face. Anyway, we are ending in a weird way, but I hope this was helpful. Please understand that leadership is, like Benji said, the world is starved for real leaders, but leadership is first and foremost leading yourself towards becoming your ideal self, and then helping other people do the same, follow suit. And so let us help you help yourself so that you can help other people. And don't turn that into a sticker, because that would be a terrible sticker. All right, Benji, any last words?
No, we're good. Let's do it.
All right. Everybody, see you in the promise.
Hey, just a quick intermission to let you know that High Noon has a program just for single people that want to prepare well for marriage. So if you happen to be one of those single people that wants to be a stellar, fantastic, amazing, marriageable man or woman, then check out the core program, which you can find at highnoon.org. It is just for single folks like you who want to get ready for marriage and be ready for marriage. So join that at highnoon.org and we will see you in the core program.